We are heading to the championship rounds.
Going into the championship round. This is it now, championship rounds.
This is the Championship Rounds podcast, and this is episode 3. We'll be talking everything UFC and boxing related. This week we had UFC 216, Tony Ferguson versus Kevin Lee, Demetrious Johnson, Ray Borg, and some other great fights on the card. I want to start off by talking about Demetrious Johnson. Mighty Mouse defeated Ray Borg via submission in the 5th round to set the record for most UFC title defenses. Now, last episode I was talking about how I don't think Demetrious Johnson has proven himself, not in a technical way, but as a draw, as someone who doesn't take the highest challenges. But I can change my mind. I believe that Demetrious Johnson is the pound for pound king of MMA. I think he is everything that is pure about MMA. I feel he is technically above and beyond anyone else in his division. And I mean, the submission he brought out against Ray Borg was unbelievable. That suplex into an armbar. The internet went nuts in the MMA world. So I'm starting to think that I can't really understand why he is in the draw. I know he's not taking, Ray Borg isn't the biggest name. And maybe that's what's holding him back. A lack of big names in his division. But at the end of the day, he can't help that. He's single-handedly dismantled the entire division. And there's no one left for him there. He's wiped it out because he is that good. I think the next step would be to fight the winner of TJ Dillashaw and Cody Garbrandt. That would be a huge fight. Oh, I'd be so excited for that fight. And I think that obviously that's bigger than anything DJ can do in his division now, because he's beat them all. Henry Cejudo, Joey Benavidez. No one wants to see those fights again because we know how they'll go. Demetrious Johnson is just too damn good. So I just wanted to pay respect to DJ. He is the best mixed martial artist on the planet. Amazing to watch. Just an MMA purist stream, really. So the other fight on that card that's worth talking about is for Fabricio Werdum versus Walt Harris. Now, Derek Lewis dropped out of this fight on, I think, the day or the day before, on the day, with back problems. So Walt Harris steps in. He's unranked, he's unknown. I think his only chance against someone like Werdum, and at his stage in his career, not being a well-known name, was just go out there and try and take Verdum's head off and really just put himself on the map. Well, the fight lasted a minute, and surprise, surprise, Verdum gets the win by submission with an armbar. As soon as you hit the ground in the heavyweight division with Fabricio Werdum, it's over. That the fight may as well be stopped when you get taken to the ground, because he is just the greatest. He has the greatest ground game in the history of the division, in my opinion. I think no one comes close. I think it's a really great skill to have at that weight class as well. So I'm excited to see what Werdum goes on to do next. I would like to see Derek Lewis come back and maybe them two could fight. When Lewis is recovered, I think I was really excited for that fight, and I really do want to see it. So, and obviously the main event, Tony Ferguson, Kevin Lee. This was exciting, a really exciting fight, because leading up to the fight there was a lot of trash talk and just bad blood between the two. I mean, they didn't touch gloves at the start of the fight. Kevin Lee was, in my opinion, if he could have got through tonight, he would have gone into superstardom, and maybe we could have seen the next really mainstream popular mixed martial artist like a Conor McGregor or Ronda Rousey, he's got the gift of the gab. He's a good-looking guy. He's very modern. He's cool. I think his likability factor is second to none. He's really young. If he could have beaten Tony Ferguson, he would have had a really good opportunity to call out Conor McGregor, and that would have been I'm sure that would have been a great fight, and the build-up to that fight would have been absolutely amazing. I mean, if you think Diaz McGregor build-ups are good, I think Kevin Lee McGregor would be a huge build-up to that fight and be so entertaining. But Tony Ferguson got the win by a triangle choke in the third round. Tony Ferguson, I think that's 10 wins in a row now. He's really proven himself to be, one of the best in that division on the planet, and I think he had such a good opportunity to really call out McGregor, and I don't think he capitalized right. He started swearing, he started shouting and swearing and calling him, this and that, swear words all over the place, and no one can use that as promo. That's not going to blow up on the internet, because people like Fox, the UFC, they're not going to put that type of language on their channel. And I think if he just kept a cooler head, made a really good speech, he could have really forced the UFC's hand to make that McGregor-Ferguson fight, which I believe would be an amazing fight. And I really, I'd find that one tough to call. So credit to Kevin Lee. He came in. He was above weight. He made weight with an hour to go. He came into the ring with a staph infection. You could see it on his chest. Credit to Joe Rogan for calling that as soon as Kevin made his ring walk. That was really good. So maybe you can argue he wasn't 100%, but I don't think Kevin would use that excuse. So I think the future's really bright for Kevin. I mean, he's so young. I think he's 24. I'm not sure if that's true, but he's around there. So he's got so much time to learn and grow as a mixed martial artist. And I do believe he's going to become one of the very best in the world, especially with the gift of the gab that he has. So I'm really excited to see what's next for Kevin Lee. As for Tony Ferguson, he's an interim champ. We have to see Ferguson-McGregor, in my opinion. I mean, I know a lot of people want McGregor-Diaz 3, but I don't think that makes so much sense, because, that fight is always going to be there. You're always going to have the chance to do that fight, but, the champ versus the interim champ, now that needs to be made. Diaz hasn't been active. I mean, that would be 3 fights in a row, and all 3 against the same opponent. I'd like to see Diaz go out and fight someone else, but I know he's not going to. He's only interested in the McGregor fight. I don't know what McGregor wants to do, if he's going to set up a boxing match with Paulie Malignaggi, or come back and take the Diaz fight and make a lot of money and ride off into the sunset, or maybe he does want to prove that he's the best in the world and he will take on El Kakui. I'm not too sure, but I really want to see McGregor-Ferguson. That would be a great fight. It's a really good time to be a fight fan now, because there's so many good fights coming up. I mean, at the end of this month, you've got Donald Cerrone. He's taking on Till in UFC Fight Night on the 21st of October. Great to see Cerrone back in action. UFC 217, Bisping versus GSP. I've talked about that. I think it's an amazing event. It's also got Cody Garbrandt versus TJ Dillashaw, and Joanna Jacek versus Thug Rose. You've got Stephen Thompson versus Jorge Masvidal. Johnny Hendricks is on the card. Mickey Gall is on the card against Randy Brown. And Patrick Cummins is on the event. I mean, it's a star-studded event, and for an MMA fan, a night like this is the equivalent to, I don't know, WrestleMania in the WWE universe. I think it's so big, and it's so exciting. So I really can't wait for this. In terms of other events, you've got Dustin Poirier versus Anthony Pettis. That's on a Fight Night card. We have... yes, they took they took Mark Hunt out of the fight in Sydney against Tybura, and they've put in Fabrizio Verdum. Wow. Okay, so that's what's next for Verdum. I didn't know they'd put Verdum in. That's exciting. Then he's back in action. I know Mark Hunt was taken up for health reasons, and then he called out Dana White, swearing and insulting him, which I don't think was a very smart move. But Anderson Silva, Kevin Gastelum is on UFC Fight Night in November. You know, these are great fights. We've got the Ultimate Fighter finale on December 1st. The day after, we've got Max Holloway versus Frankie Edgar. That is a really, really good fight. I can't wait for that. I mean, on the same... UFC 218 might be just as good as UFC 217. You know, that main event, Max Holloway, Frankie Edgar. On the undercard, we've got Overeem versus Francis Ngannou. We've got Eddie Alvarez versus Justin Gaethje. Henry Cejudo versus Sergio Pettis. You know, these are huge fights. It's so exciting to be a fight fan right now. So exciting. So the end of 2017, you know, Cub Swanson's back in action. It's, you know, 2017 has been a fantastic year for fighting, and it's not just in for UFC fans. I mean, boxing, we've got 3 massive fights to end the year. We've got Anthony Joshua versus Kubrat Pulev. We've got, in my opinion, one of the maybe the best boxing match ever made. Lomachenko versus Rigondeaux. That's gonna be. They're arguably 2 of the very best in the world, pound for pound. And then in December we've got the rematch, David Haye, Tony Bellew in London. That's gonna be massive, a real spectacle fight. The first fight's atmosphere was fantastic. I'm sure the second's is gonna be just as good, even better. Lomachenko, Rigondeaux, just speaking strictly boxing, that might be I've never been more excited for a fight. If you don't know much about Lomachenko or Rigondeaux, look them up. Lomachenko's amateur record is absolutely outstanding. Rigondeaux, one of the best defensive fighters on the planet. That's going to be so fun. I mean, and obviously Anthony Joshua's next fight at the end of this month against Kubrat Pulev. Always a spectacle when Joshua fights. He's fighting in Cardiff, in Wales, in the Principality Stadium. Sold out, 70,000 people. Going to be a crazy atmosphere. A lot of up-and-coming British boxers on that card. I know the Olympian Josh Buatsi's on that card. I'm really excited to see him in action. I know Pulev might not be the best and most entertaining opponent from a fan's perspective. You know, I mean, his fight... You look at his fight against Vladimir Klitschko and he got knocked down twice in the first round. You know, Joshua was obviously the heavy favourite. But you never know in boxing. Maybe Pulev will cause the upset. And either way, it's going to be a great spectacle and a great event. So there's a lot to be excited for right now in the fight world. The UFC seem to just keep making great fights. I mean, Dominic Cruz is coming back. You know, there's the possibility of Cyborg versus Holly Holm being officially announced. Even though Cyborg seems to think it's official, but the UFC haven't said anything. So, again, that's going to be a really, really exciting event. So, you know, 2017 is the year of the fight fan. I'm just excited to see this year out. And hopefully 2018 is a bigger and better year. So, later this week, hopefully be posting an in-depth breakdown of the UFC 217 card. So tune into that if you're excited as I am, and I'll see you then. I'll see you in the next one. So that's going to do it for this one.